let's go back to failure for a minute, and the mindset that you and your leadership team at Tesla and SpaceX have on failure. I mean, the SpaceX blooper reel that you guys did in, I think it was 2017 timeframe, was definitely, hey, we embrace this learning that occurs. More recently with the Tesla truck and the ball through the window, also that
Didn't
mindset,
go through the window.
that mindset that embraces failure. How do you personally, I mean, those kinds of failures would drive a lot of us in this room nuts, but doesn't seem to drive you nuts. Seems like you're very comfortable with it. Can you talk about the mindset that requires for you to be that accepting of that kind of failure?
Sure, should we roll the video?
No.
Or, should we not?
No, we should not roll the video, not yet.
Okay. Well, I think of these things as just, there's a certain amount of time, and within that time, you want the best net outcome. So for, all the set of actions that you can do, there's going to be some of which will fail, some of which will succeed, and you want the net useful output of your set of actions to be the highest. Use like a baseball analogy. Like, baseball, they don't let you just sit there and wait for the perfect pitch until you get a real easy one. They can give you 3 shots. And the third one, they say, okay, now you get off you go back to put somebody else up there. So your 3 strikes on baseball, not on bat anymore. So what you're really looking for is like, what's the batting average? How you doing on score? And just there's going to be some amount of failure, but you want your net output, net useful output to be maximized. Failure is essentially irrelevant unless it is catastrophic.
In terms of deciding what to build, you can take feedback from customers and let customers pull to you what they want, or you can be radically innovative within your company or a small set of individuals and develop something and push it into the industrial base. So customer pull would be Tesla owners wanting new features on the existing fleet. Push would be, company push would be something like when Apple pushed the iPad to everybody, and nobody knew what an iPad was until they touched it and went, wow,
Sure.
Everybody wants an iPad now. What do you all think about in terms of that balance between customer pull and company push?
Well, in the beginning, nobody wanted a Tesla, I can tell you that. When we made the original sort of roadster sports car, people were like, well, why would I want an electric car? My gasoline car works fine. I'm like, no, electric car is better. I should try it. And it was hard to get people to do a test drive. First of all, nobody knew who we were. Never heard of this company. And I'm like, yeah, we're named after Nikola Tesla. You know that guy? Nope. So for sure we were doing push in the beginning because people said there was no one telling us that they wanted an electric car. So it was not out of like, it was like lots of people coming up to me saying, hey, I really want an electric car. And I heard that 0 times. So people were like, it's like, man, we're going to make an electric car and show that these things can be good. And then people will want them. It's like, I think it was like Henry Ford said, like we were talking about the Model T, it's like if you asked the public what they wanted, they'd say a faster horse. Mm-hmm. So if you did like a big survey and said, hey, public, before automobiles, what would you like? It's like, well, I'd like my horse to go 3 miles an hour faster and eat less food and, be stronger and live longer and that kind of thing. there'll be basically a bunch of incremental improvements on horse. Because people, when you say like, well, what about an automobile, like car that drives itself? I'm like, what are you talking about? That sounds crazy. But when you actually make an automobile and give it to people and say, okay, now this is a horse where you can keep it in the barn, and if you leave for a month, it's still alive. Yeah. So carry more weight than a horse and go further and that kind of thing. So anyway, it's like when it's a radically new product, people don't know that they want it because it's just not in their scope. I think when they first started making TVs, they did a nationwide survey. I think this might have been like 46 or 48. It's like a famous nationwide survey. Will you ever buy a TV? And it was like 96% of respondents said no. Some crazy number. Like basically everyone's like, would you buy a TV? And maybe they put a price in there or something, I don't know. But it was famously, almost everyone said they would not buy a TV, but they didn't know what they're talking about.
So the big game-changing stuff at the beginning is a company push kind of a thing most of the time, but then changes to the product over time can be a lot more customer pull kind of a focus.
Yeah, changes to the product over time can be incremental changes. Then the customers can certainly tell you, it's good to get customer feedback to say, how can we improve the product? And once they're using it, they can say, okay, I like this thing about it, I don't like this other thing, and then we can improve the product over time. Customer feedback after they have the fundamental thing is great.
So in radical innovation, obviously the workforce is a really key component of that. I mean, during your PayPal days, you were actually doing coding, right? But in SpaceX and Tesla, they are so large that Elon can't do everything. What sort of things do you think about in terms of motivating a workforce like we have in the Department of the Air Force that will help them become more radically innovative? What sort of things do you look for in people or in processes that make the workforce better?
Sure. Well, I think the massive thing that can be done is to make sure your incentive structure is such that innovation is rewarded and lack of innovation is punished. There's got to be a carrot and a stick. So if somebody is innovating and making good progress, then they should be promoted sooner. And if somebody is completely failing to innovate, not every role requires innovation, but if they're in a role where innovation should be happening and it's not happening, then they should either not be promoted or exited. And let me tell you, you'll get promoted. You'll get innovation real fast.
Okay, the stick.
Yeah, it's like, how much do you want?
Yeah. So does that carrot and stick approach help? Do you think people be more risk averse or less risk averse?
Well, when trying different things, you got to have some acceptance of failure, as you were alluding to earlier. Failure must be an option. If failure is not an option, it's going to result in extremely conservative choices, and you may get something even worse than lack of innovation. Things may go backwards. If what you really want is you want reward and punishment to be proportionate to the actions that you seek. So if what you're seeking is innovation, then you should reward success in innovation, and only there should be minor consequences for trying and failing. There should be minor. With significant rewards for trying and succeeding, minor consequences for trying and not succeeding, and big and major negative consequences for not trying.
Okay.
So if you have that incentive structure, you will get innovation like you can't believe.